Good Monday morning to everybody. Hope y'all are doing well. Had a decent enough weekend. And, before I get into what I'm going to talk about today, because I came across something that was kind of interesting yesterday, made me go into the way back machine, I guess you could say. Think way back to 1988, the year I graduated high school. But anyway, it's interesting. But anyway, wasn't expecting that. I'm going to highly suggest and recommend, if people have not heard or listened to Benjamin Faircloth's latest message, Benjamin Faircloth YouTube channel. I don't remember the exact title of it, but it had something to do with Iran is the linchpin, for the fall of the United States, something of that nature. Very, very good message, very relevant, very timely. And I'll just kind of give you like a little brief synopsis, because I know people are like, oh, I don't have an hour to listen or whatever. You probably do, but I get it. People have other things to do, or they just don't want to or whatever. So I just kind of give you a little breakdown, because this is very, very important for not only this upcoming week and beyond. Because not saying that I know of anything that's going to particularly happen this week for sure or whatever, because there was no timing was given on this, but it just seems very, very close with all of the rhetoric and the meetings and the warnings and the threats coming from world leaders and the back and forth and no peace deal, no negotiations, everything just falling through. He said that the Father gave him a message that if we go with Israel or we attack Iran or whatever else with Israel, or just on our own or what have you, it's not going to go well for us at all. And there's a specific reason for that, which I thought was kind of interesting. There's a specific reason for that, which I thought was kind of interesting. That Iran is the prince of Persia. Most people probably know this, so it goes back to Daniel chapter 10, where it's not like the prince of Persia died or something, like Ben said. As a matter of fact, if anything, it's gotten stronger. That principality of that region, that area, has gotten even stronger. And the Lord will not go with us. And why should he? Because the text came from Jeremiah 2, where it talked about how when Israel rejected God, basically God was going to deal with them and had rejected them for a time before he could restore them. But I don't think the United States is going to be restored, because we don't have an eternal covenant with God. Okay? So it's just my opinion on that. I just don't believe that. But anyway, the text came out of Jeremiah 2, where the Lord was speaking through Jeremiah, saying, what did I ever do to you people? I've done nothing but bless you, pretty much since your founding, since your existence, referring to the United States and Israel, because prophetically they're parallel. They go hand in hand. So he's basically saying, what did I ever do to you people? I've done nothing but bless Israel. I've done nothing but bless the United States. But yet you reject me, you spit in my face, you sin, and you don't care, and you just do everything the opposite of what I tell you to do. So now I'm going to deal with you, or I'm going to have other nations deal with you. And with our arrogance and our pride, our hubris, our ignorance, our stupidity from the current leadership that we have in this nation, and the misplaced confidence we have in our military prowess, we're going to suffer. We're going to suffer big time. We're not ready for this. I know people may disagree or what have you. Oh yeah, we can take on Iran, or we can take on this. No, because there's a supernatural power here as well. It's not just military, it's supernatural. And it's not on our side, if you get my drift. So if Israel, and he mentioned how in Syria, since Syria is basically fallen, that Syrian airspace is completely open. And if Israel is able to fly through and attack, and the U.S. goes with Israel or what have you, we're going to pay. We're going to pay. And I totally, completely agreed with this message. I mean, I really do. It makes perfect logical sense to me with everything that we're seeing, everything that's going on. And I believe that it is a true message from the Lord. And then on top of that, Eric Hale put out a message. He was actually in Washington, D.C. I guess he's still there today. I don't know. And he put out a message, Conflict by Fire, Eric D. Hale, a YouTube channel. Most people probably know who he is. But anyway, that kind of confirmed what Ben said. And I don't think they know each other. But Eric went further to say that Washington, D.C. is going to get hit with an earthquake. He didn't give a time. He didn't say when. But it was going to be a massive earthquake that hits D.C. That's what he said in his message. But then he went on to talk about Iran as well and kind of confirm what Pastor Bennett said, where the message he was given, where it won't go well for us, and that there would actually be a preemptive strike from Iran on the U.S. That's what Eric said. There'd be a preemptive strike. Ben didn't say that, but Eric did. So I'm listening to both these messages and making comparative notes here. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that makes sense too. That makes a lot of sense too. So regardless, it won't go well for us because the Lord is not on our side militarily. He's not on our side as a country because we've rejected him. We've rejected his precepts. Our leaders have rejected him, rejected his precepts. And there's nothing but arrogance and, like I said, a misplaced confidence in our military prowess. And the main thing is people don't respect this country. They don't respect us the way they did. And, 47 can't bully people in other nations. They're not scared. They're not afraid. They're not going to back down. They're not going to bow down. They're not scared. The other leaders of these other nations, they're not scared. Because we're so weak now and pathetic. And this signal chat thing, it shows how weak we are. It shows how pathetic we are. I was talking to my wife about it over the weekend, and she was like, what do you think the other nations are doing? They're probably laughing their butts off. I'm like, because, I'm sure the other leaders of the world would be like, yeah, you're going to Siberia. We're just going to shoot you right now. You're going to go into the gulag, or you're going to go to prison for the rest of your life. The other leaders wouldn't tolerate this garbage. But in the U.S., we just make excuses for, stupidity, and there's no accountability. And the signal chat, we have become, yet once again, a joke of the world. And there's no respect for our nation. There's no respect for our leadership. And the amazing thing is things are bragged about like a new golden age and how the world's going to respect us and how we're going to, have peace through might and all the rest of this stuff, and taxing the world, putting tariffs on everyone, threatening everyone, trying to come up with peace negotiations that continue to fall through. And it's just like nothing is working, and it's not going to. So I would suggest that people listen to Pastor Ben's message, Benjamin Faircloth YouTube channel, as well as Eric Hale's. It's a shorter one for Eric. It's a little over half an hour. But he's basically, the Lord basically telling him, wipe the dust off your feet. You gave the message to Washington, D.C. You went where I told you to go. You delivered the message. They're going to get hit with an earthquake. I don't know exactly when. A massive earthquake, according to what Eric said. And it's not going to go well with us or Israel when it comes to Iran. So on top of all of that, yesterday I came across something. It's kind of interesting. You know how you just kind of scroll through YouTube or what have you, and there may be, I guess because of algorithms or things you've researched before or looked at before or whatever, certain videos might pop up of channels you're not even subscribed to or things you're not even subscribed to. And this really, like I said, it made me go into like a time machine almost back to 1988 kind of thing, because I'm like, this is very strange to me. Because this weekend, April 5th, there's supposed to be nationwide protest, pretty much 50 states, 50 city type protest called like the 5501 kind of thing. I guess you could say insurrectionist, we'll just call it that, I guess, where people are standing up against, the president and Musk and the policies and Doge and all of this stuff. And we've already seen the attacks on Tesla and the protests outside, Tesla facilities in Buffalo or Phoenix or wherever else. But this weekend on April 5th, they're scheduling, they're planning nationwide protests, and a lot of it is Free Palestine stuff, and kind of like going back to where, before, the inauguration, the way the United States was. These people kind of want things back. They want to go back to the way it was in that way, and like I said, protesting. Hopefully it will not be violent, but who knows? You got 50 cities, 50 state protests kind of thing, and people want to know more about this. There was stuff on X, which I thought was kind of ironic that, that they're using X, which is run by Musk, to put up their protest, advertise their protest against Musk. I was like, that's pretty good. That's funny. To me, I think it's funny anyway. So it's funny and sad, but anyway, so there's a protest scheduled. And like I said, you could look at it at X, or Hal Turner radio show had the article up on it. So something people may want to be aware of, look into it if you live in any one of these major cities where these protests may occur or close to them. You might want to, be aware of that. If you have travel plans or plan to be out and about or whatever the case may be, just something to look into and be aware of. But this is what was interesting, and I'm calling this Revolution Calling, because that's what it reminded me of yesterday. Because when I was looking, or when I was kind of scrolling past things, I came across this live concert of something I was interested in, and have been interested in for a long, long time, because I've talked about this before, mainly on the other channel, but when I was deployed 1990-91, we didn't have a whole lot of choices in music. You had like a Sony Walkman. I mean, you gotta remember, this is way before the internet and even CDs and everything, unless they were probably around. You had to be really rich to get them or whatever. But, I mean, we had cassette tapes, Sony Walkmans, kind of thing like that, and you had, music you would listen to, and, I mean, anything to kind of pass the time, between, going in to the attack or just your downtime, your R&R, and so, I mean, I had certain music, but then you would share music with other people, things that they may like, you may like, whatever else, so you would kind of exchange cassette tapes. Well, one of the cassette tapes that was given to me was, or that was shared with me, was from this band called Queensryche, and I didn't know anything about them. I mean, I'm 20 years old at the time. I had no clue, but at the time, they had this album out called Empire, which is very, very popular in the secular music world. They were like a rock, heavy metal type band, but they had some really very thought-provoking music, and they just were really musically talented. And as I'm listening to this, I'm like, I've never heard of these guys, and this is really good. It's for my music taste. And some people might be familiar with certain songs like Silent Lucidity, which is almost like a lullaby, kind of like, it's very diverse, okay? And it's very well done, this album. So I'm listening to this thing, I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Well, they were at the top of their game at that time. And when I got back stateside, an opportunity came up for, one of the dudes from the barracks and I to go to a concert, to go see them in concert. And I didn't know too much about their music other than that one thing. I didn't know that the band had been around since 1983 and had put out several albums before that. I didn't have a history, because at that time, like I said, there's no internet. If you wanted to learn things, you had to talk to other people, or you had to go to a library. There was microfilm, microfiche, whatever else, an encyclopedia, But if it was something that was real current, you kind of had to go to magazines, and read about things or whatever else. Or like I said, just talk to people. So I was taken aback when I went to this concert because I was familiar with the certain music that they were playing from the tape that I had borrowed. And there was a time in the concert that all of a sudden the lights went out, and it was like everybody knew what was going on and happening except for me. That's how I felt anyway. I'm like, and everybody's cheering and clapping and they're excited, and I'm like, what in the world? The lights are out. I guess they're going to come back on. I have no idea what's going on here. And then all of a sudden on the huge screen behind the stage, they begin to play this like animated movie, and with like adult animation. I mean, it's not pornographic or anything, but just like more adult animation rather than cartoon type stuff, right? And so I'm asking the dude, I'm like, what is going on? Because he's more familiar with the band and their stuff than me. He goes, oh, this is Operation Mindcrime. I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah. He goes, this is their concept album from 1988. And I'm like, wow, okay. So as I'm at this concert and I'm watching this thing and I'm seeing everything play out on screen that they're singing about, because I said it's a concept album, it's a story. And the fascinating thing about it is Jeff Tate, the lead singer, who is no longer with the band, is actually on tour now doing the Operation Mindcrime tour, where he is replaying all of that music from 1988. So why is that relevant to today? Because Operation Mindcrime was way, way, way before its time. Because they talked about things in this concept album that apparently Jeff Tate wrote along with, I think, his guitarist at the time, Chris DeGarmo, but is basically Jeff Tate's concept album idea, where it's very relevant to today, because the very first song on it is called Revolution Calling, where it talks about how the people are angry. They're upset. They're upset with their government. They're upset with being lied to. They're upset with the media. Keep in mind, this is 1988, okay? That's when this album came out, when I graduated high school. All right? Like I said, I wasn't aware of it at all. I didn't listen to it when I was in high school or knew anything about it even after high school. But Revolution Calling, and they're saying it's time for a revolution. And I'm thinking about, okay, well, everything that's happening in the country today, it seems like a revolution is coming, an internal revolution, with all of the rhetoric, all of the violence, and it hasn't gotten to the point where it's, totally violent, where that these protests that they're breaking out in murder or anything of that nature, but you can tell that it's heating up. And this April 5th thing this Saturday might be the beginning of it really heating up. I don't know. Maybe it drags on a little longer, but the rhetoric is definitely violent. It's hateful. It's vitriolic. There's a lot of threats, a lot of warnings, against things and toward people and so forth. And in the song Revolution Calling, it first starts out, for a price I'd do about anything except pull the trigger. For that I'd need a pretty good cause. But there's this man leading this revolution that they refer to as Dr. X. And he's supposedly the man with the cure to everybody's ills. Sound familiar? He's the one that everybody's looking up to. He's the one that everybody's looking to, at least from this underground revolution, to make everything right again. To fix all of the wrongs and make them right. But they're going to do it through violence. Hence the title Operation Mindcrime. And then, so it's saying and told from the perspective of the patsy, basically, the man that they use to recruit, his name's Nicky or whatever, but the man that they use to recruit everybody else for this underground revolution to try to take America back. You see what I'm saying? Keep in mind, 1988, Operation Mindcrime concept album. So with this whole thing, it's really mind-blowing. It tells the story of this man and how he's able to do this. Of course, they don't get away with it, okay? And he winds up in basically an asylum, straitjacket memories and sedative highs, that's what he sings in Eyes of a Stranger. The mirror never lies, when you look into the eyes of a stranger, or when you look into the mirror never lies, you see the eyes of a stranger. But anyway, the whole album, the whole concept album is a very fascinating storyline where it exposes pedophilia, it exposes the Catholic Church. Specifically at that time, it was pretty well known that priests were molesting altar boys and whatnot, and that went on for years later. It exposes prostitution, it exposes a lot of things happening in the underground world, the underground revolution, right? And they're willing to do anything to keep this guy happy, to keep him doing the damage, causing the damage that he's causing, and recruiting as many people as they can to take America back, in their estimation, to make it what it should be, what they want it to be. Like an insurrectionist, kind of like what it sounds like they're planning here on April 5th. So, I bring that to everyone's attention because I thought it was very interesting that Jeff Tate just happens to be doing this tour, mostly U.S. tour, right now of Operation Mindcrime from 1988, and that's basically the tour. He's going from city to city to city in the U.S. and doing this particular tour of this concept album at this particular time in America, where it appears that we may be on the verge of an internal revolution, the long prophesied, told internal revolution from Dimitri Duduman from 1984, I believe it was. So very, very interesting how everything repeats, how there's a cycle. That's exactly what a revolution is. It's a cycle, right? It's a circle. It just comes round and round again, right? So because we never learn from history, we're doomed and destined to repeat it. I know everybody's heard that. I've said it many times. It's a truth. And I know other people have heard that many times as well. So I say all of this to be aware of what is going on regarding Iran and all of the rhetoric, not just Iran, but Russia as well, and all these nations that we're trying to bully with tariffs and, thinking that they're going to respect us, thinking that they're going to bow, thinking that they're going to bend the knee, thinking that they're going to acquiesce. No, they're not. They're not scared. They're not worried. They're not. They're not going to be bullied. I mean, we're going to wind up with egg all over our face looking very, very stupid, and hopefully not a lot of dead bodies, but that's a good possibility as well, because we're not ready. We don't have God on our side. We're going to be going into other nations and trying to assert our might, and it's not going to work, and it's going to blow up in our faces, quite literally, and probably in Israel's too. But like I said, Israel has the eternal covenant where we don't. So that's the big difference there. Israel can be restored where we won't be. We're Mystery Babylon. If people want to agree with it, don't agree with it, research it. Jeremiah 50, 51, Isaiah 13, 21, 47, Revelation 17 and 18. We're Mystery Babylon, okay? So we're coming to the point now where I think we have pushed it so far to getting involved in wars that we're not going to be able to handle, and we're going to suffer greatly. And it could happen a whole lot sooner than people think. Ben did specifically say watch for April into May. And I agree with that. Springtime is wartime, April into May. Matter of fact, someone emailed me something, and I told them, I said straight up, I said, okay, well, this is what I believe. This is my opinion. Springtime is wartime. I think we're going to have a summer of chaos that will lead into the eventual fall in the fall. So by the end of this year, you won't recognize America the way that you knew it before. We won't. That's my personal opinion on it. By the time we get to the end of this year, the America that we once knew and recognized on a daily basis, I don't think it's going to be the same America, and I think it'll be almost unrecognizable by that point. So I expect a springtime wartime scenario situation, a summer of chaos, summer of violence, a summer of discontent, basically, and dissent, and anger, frustration, a lot of pain and suffering. And then by the time the fall gets here, the fall in the fall, the fall of everything, life as we know it. So by the end of 2025, I think we limp into 2026. And by the end of 2025, we pretty much don't recognize this country. I know that's not what people want to hear. They may not even believe it. They might think I'm crazy for saying that. I'm just telling you what I see, what I believe in my heart, and what I can see coming. Because if we do this and we go into Iran, either on Israel's side or do it on our own, or there's a preemptive strike of some sort and retaliate or whatever, we're going to pay. Our arrogance will not help us win. And hope is not a plan. Okay? We're not ready. We're not ready in any way, shape, or form to face the nations of this world that have supernatural powers on their side, dark supernatural powers on their side, and they are much more equipped militarily and with weaponry than we probably realize. And our arrogance will get us killed. Our arrogance will get our young people hurt. Our young troops hurt. Because all they'll be doing is following orders. And they're not going to know any better. And I know because I was one of them. You just simply follow orders and you hope that your leadership is leading you in the right direction, not leading you to your death, and you hope that you can trust the leadership that's put in front of you. I don't think we can. I think they have their own selfish agenda, and I think it's to stay in power, and I don't think they care who they hurt, and I don't think they care who they sacrifice. And I know that sounds very cynical and maybe judgmental on my part, but that's what I believe in my heart. That's what I believe, because like I said, I was one of these troops at one time, and a lot of you might have been as well. And, and you might even have, young people, sons, daughters, grandsons, granddaughters there now. So, or about to be deployed without even knowing it, being aware of it. It can happen very, very quickly. It does not take long to get orders, and it does not take long to implement them. So that's all part of operational security, where that's been blown out of the water. There is no OPSEC anymore, because these people can't keep their mouths shut and they're stupid. So, but I'm telling you straight up that it does not take long to get orders. And that's all I'll say about that. It doesn't take long. So once the plan is made, once the decision is made, it doesn't take long. And they'll put them on alert, and they'll send them out quickly. And to wherever they got to go, wherever they want to send them. So these are the things that I just wanted to share with you all on this very rainy, very, very rainy Monday morning. And I hope you all have a good and blessed day. If I don't talk to you all the rest of the week, or I don't know if I will or not, just wanted to get this out. I was going to do it on a walk and talk yesterday, but it just didn't work out that way. But maybe I'll get to those again eventually. I don't know when. But, just be aware and be wise and just be smart and make good choices and decisions. And I hope y'all have a good rest of your day. Man, glad to get off this road almost to work, because this is bad. This is bad weather this morning. I know a lot of other people are dealing with that, so be ready for that, because it doesn't sound like that's going to get any better in certain areas either. So just be ready, man. That's all I can say. Be ready. All right, y'all have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.